ļoti cienītā Eiropas Parlamenta prezidentas kundze, ļoti cienītās deputātes un augsti godātie deputāti. Vispirms es Latvijas tautas vārdā gribētu izteikt mūsu līdzjūtību neseno zemestrīču Turcijā un Sīrijā upuru tuviniekiem. Eiropa ir solidāra ar mūsu kaimiņiem šajā traģēdijā. Dāmas un kungi, Eiropas parlaments ir Eiropas politiskā sirds. Šeit satiekas Eiropas Savienības pilsoņu dažādās intereses, domas un viedokļi. Šeit veidojas un kristalizējas 450 miljonu Eiropas pilsoņu sabiedriskā doma. Eiropai savs ekonomiskais, intelektuālais un kulturālais potenciāls ir jāpielieto tā, lai mēs visi, 450 miljoni, savu dzīvi varētu veidot atbilstoši mūsu vērtībām un sasniegt mūsu mērķus. Mesdames et messieurs, les citoyens d'un pays membre et en même temps citoyens de l'Union européenne. Cela signifie qu'en premier lieu, il est lié à sa nation, à sa société, à sa culture et sa langue. Il porte la responsabilité de sa démocratie et de sa sauvegarde. Son horizon politique est tout d'abord celui de son État. Cependant, les citoyens de l'Union européenne ne s'en tiennent pas là. Être citoyen de l'Union européenne signifie non seulement se préoccuper de son pays, mais aussi de l'Union européenne. C'est un double devoir. Cela signifie donc aussi que les citoyens européens doivent porter leur regard sur l'ensemble de l'Union européenne. Non pas seulement sur leur pays, mais bien sûr toute notre Union européenne. Il nous revient à nous tous, citoyens européens, et surtout aux responsables politiques, de prendre la hauteur pour passer d'un point de vue national à une vision supranationale. Meine Damen und Herren, an dieser gemeinsamen europäischen Sichtweise müssen wir noch arbeiten. Nach dem Zusammenbruch des Sowjetblocks ist Europa zusammengewachsen. Die künstlich geschaffenen politischen und wirtschaftlichen Grenzen wurden schrittweise abgebaut. Jedoch die Grenze in unserem Bewusstsein, im sozialen Gedächtnis der europäischen Gesellschaft ist noch nicht völlig überwunden. Die europäische Geschichte wird immer noch weitgehend nur als die Geschichte Westeuropas erzählt. Dieser enge Provinzialismus bei dem Verständnis des gesamten Europas hindert uns daran, unsere Ziele zu erreichen. Die vollständige Geschichte Europas ist eine Geschichte, in der alle europäischen Nationen sich selbst und ihre historischen Erfahrungen wiedererkennen können. Das heutige Europa hat kein Zentrum und keine Peripherie. Europa wird heute in Riga und Paris, Warschau und Berlin, Bukarest und Brüssel, Prag und Rom geschaffen und gestaltet. In allen europäischen Ländern in allen europäischen Hauptstädten, auch in Oslo, auch in Berlin, auch in London und auch in Kiew. Honorable members, we need a common understanding of European history where there is a place for the historical experience of all European nations. We need to consolidate a common point of view from which the whole of Europe, from north to south, from east to west, can be seen, and from which the world and Europe's place in it is clear, so that we can define what Europe wants to achieve globally. Over 20 years ago, the German political philosopher Jürgen Habermas identified the lack of a common European public opinion, Europäische Öffentlichkeit, as one of the European Union's biggest problems. Since then, I believe that things have somewhat improved. The common European public opinion has acquired greater significance in the minds of citizens. Crises such as COVID-19 pandemic and Russia's aggression towards Ukraine have also contributed to our common consciousness of us as Europeans. This is the basis of Europe for the ability to act. The European Parliament is a unique, democratically legitimized European forum. I therefore call on you, honorable members, to play a more active role in shaping the common European public opinion. This does not mean merely advancing national, economic, or other interests in a fierce battle for compromise. In the parliamentary debates and decisions, you need to achieve a European vision that is qualitatively more advanced than just agreeing on a price. Your solutions must be truly European. Such solutions must equally incorporate the national and historical experiences and actual equitable interests of all member states. They must synthesize them into a new quality. That is what European citizens expect from you. To represent the whole European Union, we need to understand its member states better. And for example, only a very small number of you, members of the European Parliament, have ever been in Latvia. Let me therefore today encourage you to visit Latvia and get to know us better. When thinking about European solutions, we need to be clear about the European foundations. Our shared values, our common European legal system, are precisely that distinguish the European Union from all other international organizations, from all other international platforms. Our values and legal system make Europe and our common way of life, European way of life, attractive for us and attractive for others. Values such as democracy, the rule of law, and fundamental human rights. They are source of the strength of the European Union. The member states of the European Union are, in principle, stable, consolidated democracies. However, we face serious challenges. The most obvious challenge is a desire to limit the rule of law on the basis of populist arguments about the will of the people. A modern constitutional democracy is based on a carefully balanced system. On the one hand, you have a democratically legitimized parliaments and governments. On the other, an independent, professionally legitimized judiciary. The democratic process itself, free elections and political freedoms, the very core of the European Union's political identity, can only be guaranteed by such a system of checks and balances. I say this with my 24 years of experience as judge at the European Court of Human Rights and at the Court of Justice of the European Union. The upsetting of this balance, which the proponents of constitutional populism are seeking to achieve, may ultimately lead to the weakening or even the complete loss of democracy itself. Europe is united in diversity. Member states are diverse in issues of national identity, of issues of culture, language, traditions, social sphere, and so it should remain. Here, Europe must not interfere. Here, diversity is Europe's strength. However, the principles of rule of law must be the same everywhere. Here, diversity is permissible only in the concrete manifestations of these principles. The European legal system is based on mutual trust that the same principles apply in all member states in the same way, without exceptions. If there is a problem with rule of law in one member state, it affects the entire European Union. In some cases, these populist tendencies have already led to disputes that are now difficult to unravel in a purely legal way. In order to avoid an impasse, here we could find a political solution that would cut this Gordian knot. This would give the involved parties an opportunity to start afresh. But in any case, the rule of law in Europe must not be weakened. Honorable members, democracy and rule of law were under threat not only from within. Today, it is also threatened by Russia's aggressive ideology, which is behind their attack on Ukraine, a sovereign, democratic European country. The authoritarian Russian regime has gone back 200 years in its thinking. It has regressed to the imperialist, colonialist, and racist ideology of the 19th century. As a German example shows, renouncing an aggressive, toxic ideology requires a huge collective effort, Vergangenheitsbewältigung. And it takes a long time, but it can be done. Until Russian society evaluates, overcomes, condemns, and clearly renounces this ideology, we have to reckon with Russia as an aggressive state. Let the romantic notions of the broad Russian soul remain to the lovers of literature. This cannot be a leitmotif for politicians who are responsible for Europe's security, for Europe's future. We must also acknowledge the enormous mistake and naivety of moving purposefully towards dependence of Russian energy resources. And it would be also good to reflect on how such a mistake was even possible, despite our warnings. Certainly, the Putin-Versteher in think tanks and policy-making circles had a role, as did business interests. But in future, Europe and the West as a whole must not longer make such strategic mistakes. Therefore, we need to be realistic about Russia. The effective strategy towards Russia, aggressive Russia, is deterrence through credible defense capacities in all areas. If we do not want to betray the values on which the European Union is founded, and if we do not want to lose our credibility in the eyes of the future generations, then Europe must be on the right side of the history. That means on the side of Ukraine. This war must end with the victory of Ukraine. Russia started the war. Russia must end it now and withdraw from Ukraine. The European Union and its member states have provided significant support to Ukraine. And I am proud that Latvia is currently among the top providers of aid to Ukraine in terms of GDP per capita. Not only the government, but also the local authorities and the vast number of individuals sent what help they can. Certainly, what Ukraine needs most urgently now is military equipment, is weapons to win the war. But it also needs justice, and it needs a future in Europe. And what Ukraine needs, we all need. First, some words about law and justice. The Charter of the United Nations prohibits aggressive war. Without this prohibition, the world would fall back into belligerent anarchy. Therefore, the waging of a war of aggression against another sovereign state is the gravest possible crime in modern international law. For the first time since the Second World War, we are experiencing a war of aggression in Europe. International law must therefore respond. There must be a special tribunal to try this crime of aggression. This is not only necessary for the sake of justice for Ukraine. It is necessary in order not to undermine the standard of international law that has been achieved since the Second World War. To make it absolutely clear that the waging of a war of aggression is a crime, and those responsible will be brought to justice. None of us wants to live in a world where aggressive war would be a norm. However, at the moment, neither the International Criminal Court nor any other international mechanism can exercise jurisdiction over this crime of aggression. Therefore, it is necessary to create a special tribunal to try Russia's aggression against Ukraine. This has already been done in the cases of Yugoslavia, Rwanda, Cambodia, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and other cases. Each case has been different. But however, the international community has been creative and has found a way to set up such tribunals. This is also more necessary in case of Russia, because, as I said, we are talking about the most serious international crime. In any case, legally, it is possible. All that is needed is political will. Latvia was one of the first countries to encourage the creation of such a tribunal last year, shortly after the outbreak of the war. Now, this proposal has already received quite broad support. I would particularly like to thank you, honorable members, for your resolution of the 19th of January this year, where you expressed your firm support for the creation of such a tribunal by an overwhelming majority. I think 470 against 19. It's clear votum. At the EU-Ukraine summit on the 3rd of February, the President of the Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, announced that the European Union would establish an international center for the prosecution of the crime of aggression in Ukraine, which would begin to collect evidence. This is already the first practical step towards the creation of such a tribunal. The further political and legal roadmap and details remain to be worked out. In any case, Europe must be consistent and ensure that this crime of aggression can be tried in an international court. The use of frozen Russian assets for the reconstruction of Ukraine must also be ensured. This applies not only to the assets of the oligarchs close to the regime, but in particular to the assets of the Central Bank of Russia. The US, Canada, and United Kingdom have already done some preliminary work here. Again, although complicated, it is legally possible. What is needed is political will. And I am confident that the European Union will find this political will. In conclusion, Madam President, last Thursday, you rightly said to President Zelensky here in the European Parliament, Ukraine is Europe, and your nation's future is in the European Union. Of course, we see how difficult this path will be for Ukraine. But we also see the determination and courage of the Ukrainians. For us, it is much less demanding to be courageous. We have to make the right decision. This is a historical decision that we might have only one chance to make. The Ukrainian people have decided. Now it is our turn. Thank you.